and a mic. And believe it or not, this is episode number 3. It's Jim Ryan with Mark Rizzo, music and more. 2 guys and a mic, music and more. It is our podcast. And I can't believe we've already made it to episode 3.
It's phenomenal the amount of fan mail and emails I've received from the first two. It's gone over what most expected.
Is it getting more people to the guest list?
Well, also the fact we're giving a car away, which I keep repeating in
I know
each
you keep
episode.
saying that.
Shh, get those numbers up. We'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. If you do like it, subscribe, hit the bell, everything you got to do here on YouTube to keep coming back and getting more. We appreciate that very much. So each week we're going to have something to say about the music business, whether it's from the label side, which Mark spent many years doing, or the radio side, which I have spent many years doing and continue to do. And Mark also continues to do the label side. We're hoping to have some guests. We had one on the hook for this week, but then he decided he wanted to go on a European vacation, so we're gonna have to wait.
I
But
can't blame
we'll
them.
no, but we'll get him. One of the things I thought we would do, because think everybody likes, top list this, list that. Here's the top 10 reasons you should go to Madagascar, or here is the top reasons why you should not do whatever. So I figured we could do like a top 5 list each week here on the podcast, 2 guys and a mic. And we'll come up with different things. It won't always be music, but more than often than not music related. But maybe it'll be, top 5 favorite power tools at some point. Who knows? Just throw something out there, right?
Yeah, well, it
Um,
gives you a topic to wrap the conversation around on your side
yeah,
of the fence as well as mine.
correct. So we figured this first one we would start out with and get this up and out of the way first thing. Top 5 one-hit wonders of all time, in our opinion. The top 5. Um, you may agree with this list, you may not. You could always email us or get back in touch with us and say you guys are crazy or you're dead on. Whatever you want to do, we're just throwing it out there. So I will let you start. How about we go back and forth? You do one, I do one.
Well, you got to separate it by preference, songs you like that were one hit wonders, perhaps songs I was actually promoting that were one hit wonders that we thought these artists would have big careers and they didn't go anywhere, or
Oh,
just annoying, one hit wonders. So I've got
so
a
these,
couple of each. I could sprinkle in my list of annoying one hit wonders, my favorite one hit wonders, and perhaps some one hit wonders I even was a part of.
now see, I went by simply these are the ones I like the best.
Liked or didn't
Yeah,
like. See, that could be
liked,
another show. Top
liked.
five you didn't like.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of those, but these are the top 5 that I liked.
Okay, well, I'll give you my first one that I
Okay,
liked, that I
go
actually
ahead.
was a part of, and it was by James Blunt. You're beautiful.
Really?
I
Cool
worked that.
song.
I worked that independently, and at the time I was hired by the company over in the UK, and I was the only one who was working it at the time. And it spread and it spread and it spread, but it was so successful that we tried follow-ups with James after that, and we could just never outdo You're Beautiful. So if that's considered a one-hit wonder, it wasn't because he didn't try. It just was so successful and so big, and in some ways, I mean, quite a beautiful song that he could never outdo that. But I would say that was one of my favorite one-hit so-called wonders that didn't really, expand his career after that.
What was that?
I said after that song, his career didn't take off much further. It was that
Like,
big of a song.
he
I
had like a
don't know.
brain
I
fart
don't
there
know if
for
he
a second.
dozed off there for a second.
No, I think he had a brain fart for a second. Actually, if you think about this, though, um, James Blunt, like you said, has had other records, but how are we quantifying this? This is just like big, massively known hits. I'm not going to say, because someone would come back and say, well, so and so also had a song that hit number 78 on the chart.
Right.
That doesn't make it a hit, at least in my book, probably yours either. But this is our opinion. These are songs that achieve mass appeal,
And we
and
never followed up.
were never followed up by something as big, or even in all likelihood, something else that didn't hit the quote unquote top 40. All right. So I'll give you
Okay,
my first one. You ready?
sure.
Chumbawamba. Tub Thumping. I
Okay.
don't know what it was about that song. I get knocked down, I get up again, and kind of just got in your head. And it was hard to get out. And definitely not a group that ever followed up beyond Tub Thumping. Whatever that actually means, I don't know. I never looked it up. It's just an earworm that I find quite entertaining, so I put it on my list.
I think that was one of the first big records by Universal Records. I think that really launched Republic, I believe.
Okay.
With Monty and Avery Whitman. That was like the really first big signing in the UK that really got them off the ground. That was a huge record for them.
Okay.
But you're
Nice.
right. I mean, that was it. It was a moment, and
Oh, it was a
perhaps.
moment. It was a massive moment in 97. I couldn't get away from playing that thing literally every 90 minutes when I
I
was
mean,
working
there's
at a
so
radio
many of
station
these,
in Philadelphia.
and people loved it. No matter how much you played it, they loved it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's
Uh,
so many of those. I mean, I was just they're not on my list, but I was talking about stuff like "Bad Day." I had a bad day. Couldn't get rid of that. That was everywhere. And
well, give me something else off your list.
Howie Day, Collide.
Oh, okay.
I was at
Keeping
Epic.
it in the 2000s plus here.
I was at Epic, and we were trying to put out a couple of songs after that, and we just could never. Same thing. Collide was just so damn big. But
You did bring a guest to the show today.
damn, a little. I didn't want her to bark during a very important podcast here.
I get.
But
It's
yeah,
two guys and a mic. And a mic. My name's Jim Ryan. He's Mark Rizzo. It is our podcast. It's episode 3, and we're doing our top 5 list for this week. And we're into one-hit wonders, basically songs we like, or maybe songs that Mark worked. So far, it seems to be a couple he worked. I'll give you my second one. This was a great one from the '80s. Midnight Oil, Beds Are Burning.
no, that's for you. I wasn't big on that, but okay. You rock guy. Is that like
Yeah,
a
well, it was such a good driving rock song, and that guy became a politician back in Australia. He was a
hmm,
big Aborigine, and
wow.
the lead singer became a pretty well-known politician in Australia. The band obviously was huge there. I bet they had more top 40 hits in Australia than they did here in America. But Beds of Burning was a big record.
That I do remember.
What's
But
next for you?
well, I'm kind of going to go into the annoying department of one hit wonders.
Okay.
Can we dip into that? I mean, there's just like so many of them, like Baha Man, Who Let the Dogs Out? Who
Oh
invited me
God.
after a
Yeah.
while? What about like Kung Fu Fighting? What do you think about that?
Carl
Imagine,
Carlton, right? Wasn't that Carl Carlton?
imagine if I had a job at the record company back then, and they come into the meeting and say, "We got a record for you to work. How do you promote Kung Fu Fighting?" That's what I want to know. And it becomes a big record because everybody was Kung Fu Fighting. Can
Yeah.
you imagine that?
What was that Saturday morning cartoon that was on Hong Kong Fooey? Remember that?
Kung Fu. But obviously, I'm teasing about that. But I did like Snow Patrol, Chasing Cars. Does that count as a one-hit
Oh,
wonder?
that's a good one.
Mm.
Yeah. Is it a one-hit wonder? I don't know. Some would say they had something else there, but that's definitely a massive song. They'd never achieved that same success with
The same with the
another
James
record.
Blunt and the same with the Howie Day.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. My next one, going to the '70s now, from 1978. Can you take a guess?
No.
Yvonne Elliman, If I Can't Have You,
Oh, great song.
I
Saturday
don't
Night
want
Fever
nobody,
soundtrack too.
baby.
Yeah.
What's that?
That was on the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was.
It was pretty big.
But it was a massive, massive, definitely song that you just couldn't get away from, and she never topped that success again.
Well, how about Seasons in the Sun by Terry Jacks? You want to go back that far?
Oh, oh, you're really digging down to the deep.
How about
Oh
the guy
man.
that's got to work that? Okay, it's about somebody dying. Okay, Seasons in the Sun.
We
That's a
had
real pick
joy,
me
we had
upper.
fun.
But then if you want to
Oh,
stay on the suicide kind of thing, what about Alone Again Naturally? Gilbert Earl Sullivan.
oh, there you go.
Climbing to the top of a tower to throw yourself off. How about that?
I think that now you're up to 5 already.
Well, they're kind of in the same ballpark. I mean, I picked the good three, and then the other ones are like a little annoying. But I have one more after this, so you go.
All right. Well, Two Guys and a Mic is what you're listening to. If you like our podcast, and we hope you do, please subscribe, hit the bell, do what you got to do. We're here on YouTube. It's Jim Ryan, Mark Rizzo. More than 70 years combined in the radio and record industry. And the podcast is Music and More. We will cover other things, but a lot of it will be music centric and about our experiences in the business. And today we're doing our top five list. We're going to do it every episode, but today it's all about one hit wonders. The next one on my list, back to the 80s for Tony Basil, Mickey.
Oh boy, that was an annoying one. See, that goes into the annoying category.
Yeah, that,
Oh,
yeah.
Mickey, Mickey, you were
Yeah. Yeah, I
Mickey.
think she was 16 or 17 when she recorded that. She was very young, and but man, that song did take off and was massively successful and never topped again.
Wow.
What's on your list? What's next on your list?
Well, I'm only saying this because I saw him when I was in college, and he played college and became a big hit. Steve Thorpe, Romeo's Tomb. I don't
Oh
think he
yeah,
had another big record after that.
I
And
don't
I
think so.
did cheat. I did look on the internet. They consider that a one-hit wonder, but he did have other records, and he still has a career. He's still out there touring and stuff. But that was a great song, and he was a great artist when we saw him in college in my college days. But I always liked that song, and I guess it was considered a big one-hit wonder.
I guess we should quantify it by basically, as best as we can tell, none of these that we've picked, none of the artists ever had another song that cracked the
As
top
big.
40.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. Yeah, maybe it was the top 100, maybe, but that never again in the top 40. One more, my last one. I do have some honorable mention ones, but um, this one was good because I loved the cartoon, I loved the comic book, but the Archies, Sugar Sugar.
There you go.
That's a guilty pleasure, one hit wonder that if it comes on and I come across it, I'll just turn the volume up to
Still makes
10.
you smile, huh?
Yeah, it just does. It's
Now,
it's
you
just one of
said
those things.
honorable mentions. I mean, there's hundreds. You could talk about You
Oh
Light Up
yeah.
My Life. How about that? But
Debbie Boone.
Debbie Boone.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many that were huge.
I had
And then,
Gary Newman Cars.
okay.
Um, MC Hammer, You Can't Touch This.
Hmm.
Couldn't get away from that. And Take on Me by Aha.
Uh-huh.
Now,
I saw
they
that
did
one.
have another song, The Sun Always Shines on TV, so they may not qualify because I believe that snuck inside the top 40.
Now, let's talk about you being able to be on the radio and playing a song. Have you played a song that you didn't think would be a massive one-hit wonder? Or
Did
did
I
you
play a
hear
song I didn't think
something?
it'd be a massive one? I thought MC Hammer would have more than he
Uh-huh.
did. That song, um, Vanilla Ice too with Ice Ice Baby, even though it
Sure.
was completely the ripoff of the bass line of, from a Queen record. But
Exactly.
MC Hammer, You Can't Touch This. You couldn't get away from that record.
What do you think makes a song that big?
It's just the groove. It's a hook. It's a catch. Some things are just very catchy, and they come along at the right time. Look at that record right now that everybody's playing, Shabuzi,
Yeah,
Tipsy.
I knew you're going to say that.
Okay, and last year, what was the song? It was, geez, I can't even remember now. But you couldn't get away from it. It was massive around summertime.
There always seems to be one
Yeah,
big every year.
and then by this time next year, nobody will remember that song. It's not one of those that's going to, be there forever. That's not going to be a Taylor Swift or a Benson Boone or even, a Teddy Swims. Those kind of records will last,
Right.
I think, for a while at least. But it's just one of those. It's a fun summertime record. It came out at the right time. Oh, what was that song last year? Oh, now I can't even remember it. But you
See?
couldn't get away from it.
I
It
think I
was
know what
a
you mean, but I can't remember it either.
It was like it wasn't a rap song, so to speak. Oh, see, I can't even remember it now. So how memorable is it? But at the time, you couldn't get away from it. It was pretty much the song of the summer.
Now, what about some like Bay City Rollers? SATURDAY. You
Yeah,
think
I'd say they're a one-hit wonder. I don't know if they ever got into the top 40 again. I'd have to look that up to verify that. But they have obviously never had as big a song as Saturday Night.
Well, they were also part of Arista,
Yeah,
where
they were
they based
massive
on.
in Europe. You
Yes,
know, you got so many bands that do become massive. Look at the what was the band that Robbie Williams was in over there? The boy
yeah,
band.
exactly. I worked Take That, Back for Good. Who
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
And then when I was at Capitol, we worked Angels by Robbie Williams.
Yeah.
But there was an issue where I don't remember the exact politics, but he didn't want to come here to promote it as much. And it could have been even bigger. There could have been a follow up, but I don't remember the story. But he, at that time, didn't come over here to do the proper promotion to set up what could have been an amazing American career. And at Arista, we worked Gary Barlow, the other half of Take That, and he came over here. He had Back for Good, and then he had a couple of solo projects. But again, it just didn't translate to the U. I mean, it didn't translate from the UK to the US, which is
And that
amazing.
happens. That
Take That is
happens.
still huge.
Yeah.
And I mean, I still follow Gary, and I mean, they play coliseums or stadiums, or it's incredible.
Well, did you ever get a record that you were just like, really? I gotta work this. There's just this. Why are we doing this?
Yep. And I was probably wrong because the first couple of singles that they gave me to work on, Sarah McLachlan, I just did not hear this.
Oh
I
yeah,
did not hear her.
you turned out to be wrong. All right.
Yeah, well, it took a while, man. We worked single after single after single. And that was before there was actually a hot AC format. It was AC. So we were dealing with Michael Bolton, Gloria Estefan, and we were competing with that stuff. Sarah was kind of a cool artist that was too cool for the format at that point. But her talent, I mean, it came through and she was amazing. But yeah, the first couple of
And
singles they gave me, I was like, I don't know what to do with this.
yeah, and she really
But
just started a whole I don't want to call it genre, but you know, the whole Lilith Fair sound that became the Lilith Fair that she ended up putting together. And for 3 or 4 years, that was like the hottest ticket out there, traveling around the country with all these great female artists from Joan Osborne to Jewel to Sarah to, you know, there was a number of them that went
I
out there. And
think I had like 5 total stations on it after like 3 weeks or something. It was like so frustrating.
yeah,
And they were
yeah.
killing me on it, man. But they were right. And eventually it broke through.
All
But
right.
that
Did
was
you have
one of the good
anybody else
things.
on your five list here? I know we've gone past five, but we'll you know, we're getting this started. It's going to be a weekly thing. Next week we'll have a different top five list. But did you have
No,
anybody else left?
no, man, I gave you my favorites. I gave you the annoying ones. I gave you some other stuff that we talked about. But I don't know if this was a real hit, but it did show up because I did cheat and I did put it into the computer to see one hit wonders. And it was a band I worked at Epic, and it was Augustana with a song called Boston. I thought that was
Oh
a
yeah,
beautiful song.
remember that
Beautiful.
record?
And yet I couldn't get it played in Boston. Okay. I'll never forget that. WBMX wouldn't play it.
Wouldn't play it.
Wouldn't play it.
Oh damn that Mike Mulaney.
But it was a good song. And I think it was a semi hit for them because it showed up when I Googled it.
Mike's a good guy though. And everybody who was programming when that was that J-Bo?
No, I don't remember exactly, but obviously I had that difficult discussion with Mike back at the time. So.
Yeah, yeah, good dude though.
Well, listen, he was a
Um,
major market, and at that point, maybe we weren't at the level that songs
yeah,
turned into.
I actually did a couple weeks of fill-in up there doing afternoons back in 2000
Yeah.
when John Lander was doing mornings still.
Hmm.
I
Boston's a
went up
great
there and
market.
worked for Greg Strasell, who you
Thanks
happen
for
to know.
saying. And maybe
Yeah.
we'll get him on. He's a good guy to talk to.
Yeah. We should do that. Are you drinking soda?
Ginger ale.
Oh, I love ginger ale, but that stuff is so bad for you.
I know. You know what? We can get into a whole topic about what to drink because I don't want to drink Coke. I don't want to drink soda. She drinks like carbonated water and stuff,
By
which
she,
is
you mean
gross.
your wife, Marianne.
Yes. We're not
Yeah.
going to put it on the episode. This is for us.
Yes. Well, my wife, Kathleen, just drinks. Basically, we both drink water. I put a little lemon in mine, but
Lemon
iced
is very
tea. I'm an
healthy.
iced tea guy,
I was
but
drinking iced tea too.
unsweetened iced tea. That's the
Yeah.
one thing about we both now live in Florida, which is the craziest thing is down south they do what's called sweet tea,
Sweet
which
tea.
is basically just a glass of sugar with some water in it. It's so sweet. It's unbelievably incredibly sweet. And I never got that. I can't drink it. And then I've actually been in the store where they sell extra sweet tea.
No.
Like, how much more sugar could you put in it to begin with?
We may do a whole episode on things in Florida to get used to. I mean, coming from New York, I know that ooh, you spent some time here growing up, but this is still a
Like
new
4 years of
experience.
high school is about it. That's all.
What about chicken and waffles? How does that get
Well, I
together?
think that's everywhere. I don't think that's just
Yeah,
Florida.
I
I
don't see
do
that in
think
Brooklyn.
that's well, maybe not Brooklyn, but you do see it in other parts of the country. But
Who came up with
the
that idea?
I
Let's
don't
take
know.
some chicken and mix it in with breakfast food.
The sweet tea just gets me. It even gets me when I go to I won't name them because we don't have any sponsors right now, but they
No, but
could
we're
become a
working on it.
sponsor.
We're
You
this
know,
close to getting a big sponsor.
if that Seattle-based coffee company wants to become a sponsor for us, I'm all for it. But every time I go there, because I don't drink coffee, so I'll get a nice tea, and I always get a tea with some lemonade, right? Half and half, an Arnold Palmer. That's what you want to call it. And every time it doesn't matter, I get would you like us to sweeten that for you? And I always have to say, isn't that what the lemonade is for? Because I'm like, how much more sugar do you want to put in this drink? You know?
Unbelievable.
It's crazy when they pump the things of
Oh,
sugar.
please.
It's like that's not coffee you people are drinking anymore. That's a milkshake flavored like coffee. That's what that is.
Amazing.
So anyway, it's two guys and a mic. My name's Jim Ryan. He is Mark Rizzo. We are here to talk music and more. And I was going through some interesting developments in the world of Hollywood over the last couple of days. You'll be glad to know Taylor Swift will not be. This is the one place you will not find Taylor Swift in the new Deadpool or Wolverine movie. There were some rumors she was going to make an appearance, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
I don't know about that. I don't think that would be a great career move for him.
She's not in that next installment, according to Entertainment Weekly. All right. Ryan Reynolds is really close friends with her, so I guess there was a lot of speculation she was possibly going to show up and do a
Yeah,
cameo, like she really needs to. But you know,
no. In fact, when you said here's one place she's not going to show up, I thought you meant out here on the podcast.
well, I wish she would. Taylor's a sweetheart. She's welcome to come anytime. Really,
Yeah, you never know.
all honesty. I mean, did you ever see her in concert?
Yeah, I got to meet her like you did twice, and it's an incredible show. I'm sure everyone who has seen her will say the same thing, but she's one of those performers that won't be a flash in the pan or have a one-hit wonder, that's for sure.
I have a close family friend who was really upset, saw Taylor before the new album came out, right? On the tour, the Eras tour. And now the tour has been updated because of the new album and it's kind of a whole new show. And now
Hmm.
they're dying to go back and see it again. But it's not a cheap ticket.
And it's,
It's
I
not.
mean, if you could even get one,
Right. That's the
I
problem.
mean, that's crazy. It really is crazy. I mean, when I got to see her a couple of times, it was through the record label, but I don't think the record label even has access to these tickets anymore. It's
I
just
don't
so
think they
difficult,
do.
so difficult.
I really don't. And we both know some people at that label, and I bet we get nowhere asking.
I don't even feel right about asking, because I'm sure it puts them out. It's a difficult ask.
Oh
And,
yeah.
there's probably people that deserve to go more than I would be able to go. I mean,
Well, they did
but
the label did this past tour, the Eras tour when it came rolling around. I couldn't happen to go. I wasn't going to be in town when it stopped in Tampa. I wasn't going to be nearby. I had another commitment, but they did invite. They were inviting radio people out. They had an area, a suite, so to
right,
speak. Um, I just couldn't make it happen for myself, but you couldn't bring anybody with you. It was
wow.
one ticket, you alone.
Hmm.
So,
Well, you
but
could save the
that's,
table for something else.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of stadium shows. I think you lose a lot. You're watching everything on a screen,
Exactly.
you
That's when I
know?
stopped going to see Springsteen after a while. It got just too big and too hard to get there. The traffic in, the traffic out, and the rudeness. We could do a show on this. The rudeness of people at shows. They
Right.
talk. They
Yeah.
talk through entire songs. And I'm
Right.
trying to hear I'm trying to hear Bruce, who does some talking, and got the guy right next to me. Play Born to Run. It's like, shut up. But yeah, and
Or
it's
or
become
telling you where
more.
they're going to stop for a bite to eat after the show ends because the food concessions are so expensive.
It's unbelievable. And as I said, the aggravation to get there, then the aggravation to get out. It's
Yeah,
just you have to give yourself at least 6 hours.
not worth it. I did Ed Sheeran. I took Kathleen, my wife, to see Ed Sheeran. He was playing the stadium in Tampa, but he was also doing a small venue for the new album because a lot of the songs on that album didn't lend themselves to a stadium show. So in certain cities, he was setting up like he'd do 2 nights, Saturday and Sunday, at the stadium, but he would do Friday night at a smaller venue. So we saw him at this place called the Ruth Eckerd Hall, which is in
Sure,
Clearwater,
it's
and
by
it's
us.
about 2,500 people, maybe. And it was great. He did the hits. He told you he was going to do all the stuff off the new album, which was not very happy because it had to
Mm.
deal with his best friend who basically helped him launch his career, passing away. And so it was very sad, but he said, we'll get through these, songs, these sad songs, and then we'll have some fun. And he did. He played the big hits. And it was great
Very
because it
fun.
was only 2,500 people there and it was small and intimate. And I love those kind of shows. You go to a stadium, it's 85,000,
Is there
and
anyone you'd see at a stadium there?
I wouldn't say, would I go see a stadium show? Yeah, if it was, the Rolling Stones, because that's the only place you could see them. I did see them in a stadium back in Shea Stadium in Queens when they were supposedly this was going to be their last tour in '88 or '89 for Steelers Wheel, and here it is, 40 years later, and they're still touring. But
Right.
I saw Elton John and Billy Joel in a stadium. I've seen stadium shows,
Yeah,
Genesis, a bunch of times. I'm not saying I would never go. I just don't prefer those kind of shows.
same with me.
It's much nicer to be in a smaller venue where you don't have to stand the whole time and you can listen to the music. And but if someone said, "Hey, we're gonna send you, you get a chance to go see Bruce," and it's in a stadium, I'd probably go, but it's still not my favorite. If would I go see Taylor in the stadium? Yeah, probably. But I'd rather go see an Ed Sheeran in a small theater myself.
That's interesting. Yeah, well, I think that's how I feel at this point because we've both been blessed enough to see just about everybody we wanted to see in all
Yeah.
different places we've seen them. But I mean, I had tickets for McCartney at a stadium, but at that point I didn't go. I had seen him several other times, but I guess, like you said, it's artist by artist, and if it may be the last tour, like it may be with the Stones or maybe with Paul McCartney and stuff like that. That's another topic.
Two
Live
guys
shows.
and a mic. I'm Jim Ryan. He's Mark Rizzo. Close to 70 years or more. It keeps changing, but we have quite a bit of experience in the radio and record industry, and we do have plans to bring guests on the show, both people we've worked with, people we have our friends, maybe even some celebrities. We know some celebrities, some artists that we may be able to convince to come on here. So please be sure. That's what I'm trying to say, to like and ring the bell and subscribe and keep listening. We hope to post these shows every week. If we get them done in time on Fridays, that's the plan. That's the game plan. But it may be adjusted as we go. You sent me a really wild clip the other day
Mm.
of an artist who just, well, you know what, either they've lost their sound or I don't know. If I was that
It was
artist,
shocking, wasn't
yes, if I was that artist, I'd be like, whoa, I don't think I should be doing this anymore, sounding like this.
it? Right.
If indeed that's, you never know how the recording, someone's standing on the side, you're not getting the full sound in your, into your speaker. But Daryl Hall did not sound good in that clip you sent me.
I mean, maybe he's having an off day, but I think when you see the clip, and maybe it was a bad day. Speaking of one hit wonders, but that being said, it's just at what point does an artist stop? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, perhaps. it's over. I mean, we know the whole drama with him and John Oates, and maybe he's lost his voice. I mean, it's a hard thing to keep up after a while. Or maybe he did 5 shows in a row, and this was like sixth show. And I mean, there could be excuses, but it
Well,
just didn't seem right.
it's also tough nowadays when everybody's got a cell phone and can instantly get it up on the internet. Like years ago, if he had done something like that in a show, someone may have said, "Oh, he really didn't sound that good," but you wouldn't have had visual evidence of
Proof,
it.
yeah.
And it would have been, it just wouldn't have moved. Nowadays, it gets instantly put up. I don't want to say he just, when you listen to the records, I know they never sound exactly like the records unless you're Milli Vanilli and you're trying to fool the world. But which we could talk about since you worked that
That's
project.
on the wall over there.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
But you know, you expect them to sound similar, and you know that Daryl Hall
Right.
could sing.
He has an
And
amazing voice, and that's why I
yeah,
think we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But we've seen clips of other artists. I saw one of Casey and the Sunshine Band who couldn't sing. I mean, it always seems to be a clip of somebody, but you would never think Daryl because he had such a distinguished
yeah,
voice.
he did. He
I
did.
mean, I
Or he
think we've all
does.
seen the stories about Bon Jovi and obviously the struggles he's had and the surgery and how he's trying to get his voice back. But Daryl, I never would think, but I guess it can happen. It could be an off day, and as I said, out of respect, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But it was still surprising when we saw it because if I was at that show and I heard that, it's like, dude, I'd be out of here. It was just
Right.
horrendous. And if you guys want to go and find it, it is on YouTube, unfortunately. But as you said, everyone's got a camera, and you make a mistake or do something, somebody's recording it at all times. So there's a lot of pressure out there when you're performing live.
Two Guys and a Mic is what this show is called. By the way, we're going to set up an email so you'll be able to email us, and maybe we'll be able to read some of that stuff out on the air each episode. But that's to come. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's here on YouTube each week with new episodes. It is music and more. So, from the more department, I wanted to kind of segue. That's a good radio term. Segue into this. Have you ever rolled your eyes when a coworker, it's been a while since you were in an office with coworkers, I know that,
Oh,
but have
well,
you ever rolled your eyes when people start throwing around words like circling back or synergy or
oh,
you're not alone or what else? Leverage, low hanging fruit, all these kind of buzzwords that were big
there's a
in
lot of
corporate.
them.
Well, they're out now. According to this, I'm reading about a new study that has been done that buzzwords and meaningless phrases that just get in the way. So if you know anybody that's using think outside the box, circle back, low hanging fruit, leverage as a verb, or move the needle, tell them they got to change their phrasing. It's not working anymore. There's some news buzzwords. You ready for these? How
Hmm.
about this? Innovate, be creative, explore new ideas.
Yeah,
This just sounds like something that's been recycled from 20 years ago, you know, before synergy became big or think outside the box or move the needle. You need to explore some new ideas.
I used to hate
I
that
can
one.
remember getting an employee review with that years ago, and now it's back. So go figure.
Think outside the box. I like that.
Let's think outside the box so we can move the needle. And instead of that, it's make a significant impact now. Instead of moving the needle, you need to make a significant impact. Anyway, don't be surprised if your boss calls you into your job and starts throwing some of that stuff around.
Actually, speaking of things that are not correct to say, actually, I could probably read the whole thing about what people do wrong on interviews. And the number one thing that the younger generation, if you can say that, when they get interviewed and the interview comes to an end, and they say, the person who's doing the interview says, we appreciate you coming in, blah, 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 we'll get back to you. And the number one wrong thing to say is, no problem. It's supposed to
No
be,
problem.
yeah, that's the number one wrong thing that people say, oh, no problem. They're supposed to say, thank you for seeing me because they're
Right.
thanking you for coming in and thank you for interviewing. And you say, no problem. That's an incorrect, very rude and disrespectful, they say. But I
And
guess that's what people say now. Ah, no problem.
Do you know how many people that I saw an interview coach basically said, when you're asked in an interview, do you have any questions for us or for me,
Like,
the person who's interviewing you? To say no is the worst thing you can do. One
so
of the
always
worst
come up
things you
with
can do.
something.
You should have something to say, and they offer a bunch of different things that you can say, but to have no questions is
You have to
is
say
not a good
something.
thing either. Throws up
I was trying to
a
pull
lot
up
of
the
red
article, but
flags.
something else started playing, so I won't pull it up right now. But it was interesting about mistakes people make on interviews, and it's very important.
Yeah.
But it's like people aren't just, I don't know if they're not being taught proper etiquette or, interview skills or stuff like that. But it's just ridiculous. And you'd be surprised what people say. One of the things was they brought their parents to the interview with them. Who does that?
Wow.
I
Well,
guess
I
they
know
were,
how a lot of times I would tell you artists that I was interviewing, and then you would give me a ton of shit for not saying, asking the questions that you wanted to know,
oh, yeah,
which
I've
if
got very
not
important
even
questions.
Playboy would ask those questions. How
These are
about that?
very, is that people need to know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you needed to keep your job, which
Right.
that's
Right.
the questions that I was asking in my head.
Yeah, yeah.
Those
In your head
important
only.
questions. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were important stuff.
In your head only.
I think
And I told you I interviewed Jenny McCarthy, and you were like, and you didn't call me. You were ready not to pick up the phone when I called after that. You were like, I can't believe he didn't call me.
I did get to meet Jenny McCarthy,
I know you did.
and we may be able to get into another session about people that are not from this planet that are just too gorgeous. And she
And
is,
is
in
the
my
restraining
opinion,
order still in effect?
but it's funny because when I met her, she took a very close selfie with me, and I said, "Your husband's going to beat me up," and she said, "Oh no, he's a pussycat." But God, she is beautiful.
Do you remember when she did she had an arc in the show Two and a Half Men with Charlie Sheen
Huh.
when he was still on the show? She came in, and her dad on the show was oh geez, now I'm gonna forget his name, but Robert Wagner,
Oh, okay.
right? From Heart to Heart, right? That's
Oh,
Robert Wagner, right?
yeah.
So Charlie's mom on the show, um, and Robert Wagner were an item. He had a daughter who was Jenny McCarthy,
Mm.
who then Charlie started dating and sleeping with her, and it drove his brother Alan crazy. And needless to say, it was very funny. So I go back and watch reruns of that show quite often, and it's hysterical.
Some of those shows are great. I mean, my mom still watches the Golden Girls every day, every day.
There's still the thing is you don't find sitcoms anymore. There's very few of them on TV.
That
I
whole hunt.
couldn't tell you right now of a sitcom that's actually airing on network television for, any night of the week. 8 o'clock, 8:30, whatever. It used to be when we were growing up, you knew every show that was on Thursday nights on NBC. It was that lineup that you had to watch. It was the Cosby Show, Family Ties, all of those. You just, one after another. Cheers. No, couldn't
Now
tell you
at 10
that.
o'clock on most channels, they have whether it's 48 hours or this, that, and the other thing, it's always a murder show.
Oh
And I
yeah.
now figured out the husband usually does it.
Yeah.
I've ruined every episode for you because the husband usually does it.
My
And it's
wife watches all
horrible.
that British TV, all the BritBox and all that, and all those shows. There's always somebody getting murdered on those shows. Every episode, somebody's being murdered. But
Well,
she's always like, well, it's not gory. It's not, but I'm like, any town that you watch, somebody's getting murdered on these shows.
there's enough going on. I don't need to be interested in watching all these shows because they never get away with it. Let me ask you, if you're that upset with your life, if you got a girlfriend, if you got something else going on, do you really think you're going to get away with killing her? I mean, odds are you're not going to get away with it.
No,
But
it's
they
always
try.
the significant
They
other they
try.
go
They
to
try.
first.
They don't run. Wouldn't it be easier just to divorce her and move out of state?
Yeah.
But then
Two
you don't have
Guys
a
and a
child.
Mic is the name of this show. He is Mark Rizzo. My name is Jim Ryan. We discuss music and more. And we did our top five list. The first one of this new show. We'll have another one. We'll have one each episode. Who knows what the next one will be, but we covered one hit wonders today. And we even went past five. I think we each had a
Well, there's
few
a
too
lot.
many.
I mean,
Yeah,
we
there
could do
is.
hours of it. But there's topics like top five artists that you worked with or you played that you liked, top five artists you played or work that you didn't like, songs you thought that would be hits that just weren't. I mean,
Because
there's a lot
we're
of stuff.
desperately out to make enemies here.
Yeah, it'll be good for viewership.
Yes. And we hope to post a new podcast each and every week. So like the podcast, give us a like, ring the bell, get that notification when stuff comes up, and subscribe. That'd be great here on YouTube. It's two guys and a mic, and there was one other thing that I wanted to bring
It's
up.
only
Now
going to
it
get
slipped
better.
my
That's what
head.
you have to keep saying. It's only going to get better.
Oh yeah, well the guest list, right? We're
A lot of stuff coming. A lot of
working
stuff.
on a guest list. How's the Tom Brady and the Stormy Daniels looking?
They haven't responded yet, but we'll
Yeah.
see. And Brad Pitt, I put in there, and my wife said these are not music people. I said, but they'll get us people who will tune in.
You tell your wife Brad Pitt's going to be on. I don't think she'll stay outside the room.
Well, speaking of people that are from a different planet, as I said about when I met Jenny McCarthy, it was beyond beautiful. When I was in Los Angeles, outside my friend's house, because they they told everybody in the neighborhood that they would be filming for months, and I think they were getting $5,000 a month, maybe a little bit more, for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Quentin
Oh,
Tarantino movie.
yeah, I remember
And
that
that
movie.
was because there was a house at the end of the driveway that they used for the whole thing, and I had flown out there, and we watched them every night. They would record the same scenes over and over. But I got to see Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, and I'd say Brad Pitt is probably prettier than most girls I dated in school. Okay, as I said, it's from a whole different gene pool, but he was very nice. He came out, he spoke to everybody. Leonardo would get in his car and split, but Brad Pitt was a pretty cool guy, and he made the fans very happy. He would stay there, and they would watch them do the same scenes over and over and over. But it was a cool movie. It was great to see how they did it. And Quentin Tarantino was a pretty cool guy.
In Hollywood, one of your favorite towns. You love California.
I love it. My wife won't go. You won't go. You hate it so much you don't even like the Dodgers.
Well, I don't like the Dodgers. No, I don't like the Dodgers. I just don't. LA is okay to visit, but it takes forever to get anywhere. You know, it's a
Uh,
cool town for a few days, but you got to build in a lot of travel time when you're in Los Angeles
I
because
remember
everybody drives everywhere.
I remember we had come out of a show. It must have been like 12:30 at night, and they've got like five lanes of traffic.
Yeah.
At like quarter to one, there's five
Hmm.
lanes that are backed up at quarter to one in the morning. Where is
Hmm.
everybody going at that hour? So that's a bit frustrating.
So
And I
no, but
get that.
not a lot of public transportation either exist or people don't use it. That's just it. It's a whole car culture, which is great, but there's so many people living there now that 5 lanes each direction highways and freeways are backed up at 11 o'clock at night.
And also, if I was to live there, I would want to be one of the people in the big estates that I love,
Of course.
that are about 100 million, 50 million, 40
Yeah.
million. I mean,
Would
they're
you
going to
live
be
up in the
everywhere.
hills or would you live like, down out by the beach?
Well, can't we have both places? Like a place in Malibu, that's what everybody says. We have a beach house by Malibu, and we live up in Mulholland Drive, and then we go down to Palm Springs. We have a place there.
See, now someone told me if you live out by the beach and you're afraid of earthquakes, then you have problems out there because of the sandy soil. But if you're up in the mountains or up in the hills, you know, it's not as bad if an earthquake hits because you're on the side of a mountain. I don't know if that's true or not. I can't speak to that. I don't even know if that makes sense. To me, some of those places are hanging off the side of
That's scary.
those. I'm just like, no, if the ground starts shaking, that's going to come down pretty quick, if you ask me. I mean, but I'm no structural engineer, so what do I know? But they do look like some of them are precariously hanging off the side of those hills.
I mean, it is
Uh,
pretty. You've got the mountains
gorgeous
in the middle.
views. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, gorgeous views, but I don't know. I'm more of an East Coast guy. LA's fun to visit, but I love San Diego. San Diego's gorgeous. San Francisco used to be a lovely town to visit, not so much anymore.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's my take on. I'd rather not live in California.
Okay, but
So
can I go?
yeah, go ahead. You want to live out there? Go ahead.
I can't afford it. Who can
Well,
afford that?
I know that. I know that. Two
Crazy.
guys and a mic. I am Jim Ryan. He is Mark Rizzo. Episode 3 in the books. Look at that.
Look how fast. And I'm telling you, it's going to explode. You're going to see what happens.
Yes,
When
well,
we start popping guests, it's going to be crazy.
we'll figure out what our next top 5 list will be about. And please, you could reach out. Well, we got to get that email. Next episode, we got to have an email so people could start getting in touch with us and letting us know what they think we should make a top 5 list of. You know, if we put it out there early enough, then some people will send theirs in and we can discuss that too. Trying to keep it music related, but maybe, you know, it might be top 5 candy bars you love or something, you know, along that line.
Well, I think most people are going to really enjoy the stories from our guests, people that were, from day one of a major artist that they went on the road with and they broke, or as you said, like a radio person like yourself who first heard a song and put it on the radio and knew immediately the reaction. And then there'll be people that'll ask how I got into radio, as we discussed in the first couple of episodes,
Mm-hmm.
how I got into the record side, which we discussed in the first couple of episodes, and how it's changed, and, how you and I can look back on it and say, well, it's changed, but there's still a business there. It's just a matter of adapting, and they're still making money, and artists are still getting played, and you could still turn the radio on. So it's not the end of days, so to speak.
Yeah, and people still listen to over the air terrestrial radio, more than 90 million people a week. So there, it's definitely changed from its heyday, obviously, but if it's done right, radio can still succeed. The problem is too many guys are not doing it right. Too many places are not doing it the right way.
Plus, I just read where Spotify is going to raise their prices too. So that's going to be
Well,
difficult.
you know what it comes down to, and we'll wrap it up. We'll get into this more, but it comes down to each and every year, the services like Spotify and Sirius XM and Pandora and Apple Music, all of them have to renegotiate and come up with a new fee structure for songwriting royalties. So it becomes more costly. And as their fees go up, then obviously the fees to the subscribers go up.
But the main thing to remember is our podcast is free. And I think that's important.
You can see me cough. You can't hear me cough when I hit the mute button. What was that? The podcast. Yeah, the podcast. Yeah, you can subscribe for free.
Yeah.
That's it.
Interesting to know.
Two guys and a mic. Thank you so much for joining us here on YouTube. See you next time.
Take care.